Morning, everybody. 8:10 a.m. Welcome to my channel. Crazy, 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 crazy markets. Crazy markets. All right. So yesterday we opened and we were pretty strong, right? It's pretty wild. Volume was very high yesterday, and coming off good earnings in Microsoft and Meta. Now, this is I think the third week I'm using my expected move, and boy, is that a great thing. So I'm going to continue to monitor it, my expected move indicator, because yesterday, remember I talked about AMD, right? Hit its expected move. Microsoft hit its expected move. Meta hit its expected move. Broadcom hit its expected move. We'll go over them in a little bit. That was a tip of the hat. That's where the market priced in, where the markets are going to go. Good morning, Chief. And the last time, 2 weeks ago, before I went on vacation, the QQQ hit its expected move, and we had a big sell-off. Okay, that was the little hint that the market was overdone. Nvidia hit it. I mean, there's so many stocks that hit that expected move. And remember, the option market prices in this. It gives you, it's very transparent, the options market. That's what's beautiful about it. 70% of the time, those expected moves will not be broken. Okay? Now, I talked about that yesterday. I said AMD is over it. Microsoft is over it. Meta is over it, right? I think I'm going to start implementing a little more caution because that was a great sell off if you were to short at the top yesterday. Now, I did get a great short yesterday. Boy, did I wait for it. Boy, did I wait for that short in the SPY. Man, I waited for it. I'm not sure if Documents is with me right now, but he was with me live and he was watching me go. I'm waiting for this. I'm waiting for the 64.28. I'm waiting for the 64.28. I'm waiting for it. And then it like moved up. We had a bounce. And I was telling him, these internals are not strong. I've seen this story before. When tech's that weak, this is usually a relief rally. And it can get pretty ugly. And I waited for that short, nailed it. My target was hit not too much after I got, man, if I would have just held a runner, boy, would that have been a monster. I think I entered at 637. Let me see here. Let me see. I have my trades here. I entered 637.46 was my entry. That was my entry. You can see it here. Short SPY. It was at 1 o'clock. Short SPY 637.46. Right? And at that time, I was like, this is going to roll. This is going to roll big time. Hit my target, and boy, my target was right above 636, and it fell all the way to 631. Another $5. Boy, 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 boy. If I just had the runner, a runner alone, right? I would have took that off at 631. That would have been awesome, right? Anyway, good trade, right? Good trade. That brings us to today, right? Amazon didn't have great earnings. Apple had better earnings. Apple's only up 1.82%. Amazon's down 8.21%. Okay, and then you got tariffs from Trump. He laid out a bunch of tariffs. He extended this August 1st deadline, I think a week or something. This is crazy. This Trump market is insane. Okay, so that's what's going on, right? We did have other earnings. Coinbase is down 9.23%. Okay. There's other ones that are up today, but we'll get into it. Okay. We'll get into it, and we're going to go over those expected moves because it's something very special about those. Okay? All right. So, without further ado, why don't we just get right into it? Welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use market profile and bond profile to find structure in the markets, along supply and demand, gamma exposure level, and the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. All helps me find the structure that I need. I'll also use anchored VWAPs, my bread and butter, my market internals, right? And then expected moves, the free indicator that I share on my Discord. Okay, please put that on your charts. I will send that out either every weekend or Monday morning. Okay, put it on your charts. Very important. Very, very important. Okay. Now, hopefully, you join me every day. All right. Give you the story, what's going on in the markets. All right. You don't have to look at any news. You'll just hear it from me. Why the market's doing what it's doing. All right. And I give you the long and short trade scenarios later on. I give you a bunch of technical analysis as well. Okay. Technical analysis as well. And of course, if you want to join me in my Discord, I usually go live. That Discord is called Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage and click on the link and sign up. That's where I'm going to start putting my free Thinkorswim indicator for the expected move for the week. Very powerful. Okay, I think I mentioned that enough already. Okay, now why don't we get right into the watch list and see what's moving markets, because our markets are nuts. Okay, now Bitcoin. There's something wrong with this calculation. So Bitcoin's at 115. It's actually down. It's just wrong. All right, so I'm not going to go off that. But the VIX is up 10.94%. Okay, up 10.94%. We're at an 18.55 VIX. We were at a 19 earlier. Okay, what do we got here? 10-year yields up 8.87. All right, dollar down 0.20, gold up 0.11, crude down 0.32, silver down 0.59, 30-year bonds being sold down 0.63, Dow is down 0.88, ES down 0.92, Nasdaq's down 1%, Russell's down 1%, 1.34%. Ethereum is down 2.63%. Moving on to the Max 7 Plus. Okay, Apple had better earnings. I think they said since, maybe not better earnings, but something since 2012, something like that. I don't want to quote that, but Apple up 1.68. Eli Lilly, okay, that's been smoked. All right, it actually went under its expected move to the low side, to the downside. All right, it's been smoked. All right, so Microsoft up 0.57, Berkshire Hathaway up 0.1. Now a bunch of laggards. We'll go over the one percenters. Meta up down 1%. Nvidia down 1.63. Google down 1.68. Boeing down 1.89. Broadcom down 2.13%. AMD, who has been rocketing, they were up to 183, I believe. 183 almost yesterday. They are down to 170. Remember, I said, be careful over that expected move with AMD. Amazon down 8.03% after reporting earnings. Same with Coinbase, reported earnings. Market don't like it, down 9.6%. 9.60%. Right? 9.60%. Right with this list, I'm going to go right into the expected move. I'm not even going to wait. It just relates to how the markets are moving. All right, so give me a sec. I'm going to pull that up. Let me pull it up. Let me change this link here just to make it easy. All right. And we're going to go to a 4-hour chart here. We're going to go to extended hours. Why is it not showing me extended hours? What the hell's going on here? Show extended. That's weird. All right. Let me move on to this. I'm going to change this here. Give me 1 second. I want to give you guys the right way I do this here. All right. Hopefully you guys can see these. All right. We're going to start in alphabetical order here. Let's start with Apple. Let's start with Apple. Now you'll see the red marker is the expected move to the downside. Remember, I have this indicator in my Discord. Okay. This is, let's start with Apple. Let's really zoom out here. Okay. Apple is in the middle, not really testing anything. AMD. AMD. The expected move. Let's zoom out here. Oh, this is not AMD. What the heck am I doing here? Sorry about that. AMD. AMD's expected move is right here. Okay, you can see it up here. Expected move, $11.26, range 177.73. There's the expected move right here. Went all the way up to 186 pre-market. It could not hold above it, right? Amazon. Amazon, expected move. Let's see here, because it had earnings. Let's see, it was a range from 212.54 to 250. 212.54 to the downside. So we didn't reach the expected move is actually right there. We didn't reach it. Just showing you everything that's in line here. Check out Broadcom. There's the expected move. Can you make that up? There's the expected move. Look at that. Fell apart right after that. Fell apart right after it. Okay. Let's go to Boeing. Boeing's expected move is right here. Look where the market is right now. It's almost at its lower expected move. Let's go to Coinbase. Coinbase, lower expected move with their earnings right there to the low side was what? 345.24. We're coming up to it. Right there. Okay. Let's look at GE. GE's in the middle. Google. I believe Google hasn't really tested anything. Not to note. Nope. JP Morgan didn't test anything either. Let's see Eli Lilly. Eli Lilly's the one that's really got smoked. Here's the expected move to the downside. The range is supposed to be to 769.71. I would not be shocked if this thing reached up to here today. That would not shock me. Meta. Meta had earnings. Look what it hit in the earnings. Expected move was right here. Remember, you can see the range, 778.92. That was where the earnings expected move to the upside was. It is right inside that range. Okay. Microsoft. Expected move to the upside was 546.61. It rose above that pre-market, and guess what? Back inside the expected move. Netflix. Netflix really is kind of like, that's the up. It didn't really touch anything. So NVIDIA, I know it went across expected move as well. Here's the expected move in NVIDIA right here, 182.05. It reached all the way up to 185.43, and it's back inside the expected moves range. Tesla, I don't think really reached any levels here. No, didn't. The downside was 292. It got down to here, but it did not get down to the expected move. Just showing you the power of the expected move. That tipped its hat to be like, okay, they're all hitting their expected moves. Boom. End of July, boom, into August. Unbelievable, right? Unbelievable. Let's go here. All right. Now, let's look at right now the SPY. Currently, we're at 626. 80. We're at 626. Let's call it 90. 626.90. The downside range here's right here. The expected move 624. Unbelievable. We still have non-farm payrolls and unemployment coming up in about 5 minutes. Craziness, right? All right, let's go back to watch list. I just wanted to show you that. I'm going to really speed through these, okay? Let's do it. Let's go back. Is there anything to note? Snowflake's down, so we'll just go over that real quick. Right here, Snowflake down 2.91. Okay, moving on to sectors. Sectors, Who's leading here? Staples. It's not leader, it's just flat. That's defensive. Let's call it the industrials down 0.74, and financials down 0.78, semis down 1.66. Discretionary, that's your Tesla, Amazon. That's why it's down 2.33. Okay? All right, moving on to the economic calendar, because we got a lot on tap. Okay? Now, today we have non-farm payrolls. We're expecting 110,000. Okay? Previously it was 147. Unemployment, we're expecting a tick up by 0.1. Previously got 4.1. Then at 10 a.m., we have ISM and Michigan consumer sentiment. Those are going to move markets as well. So again, today, it's Friday. I'm going to wait till the dust to settle, probably about 10:05, 10:10. If I don't have some set up at, like, say, 9:45. Other than that, I'll just sit back. All right, I'll just sit back. That is your economic calendar. Now, as far as news, okay, stock news. Amazon stock slumped 7.8 after the e-commerce giant provided weak operating income guidance. Apple stock rose 1.7 after iPhone maker reported third quarter results beat expectations. Okay, Coinbase slumped 11%. The crypto exchange reported a drop in second quarter adjusted profit. Reddit stock soared 14%. The social media company forecast third quarter revenue above expectations. Tesla stock fell 1.2 after EV manufacturers' new car sales in Spain rose 27% in July. Okay, Exxon, Chevron both reported. Doesn't really mean much to me. All right, let's see. Trump hits dozens more countries with steep tariffs. Talked about that. Let me see anything else here. Big orders hitting the tape right now. I don't know if you can hear those alarms. Blah, 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 blah. Like I said, I'm just going to mention, we know what's going on with markets with the tariffs. Okay. Let's see what else. Amazon, JP Morgan raises target price 265, 255. JP Morgan raises target price on Apple 255 from 250, and Reddit Piper Sandler raises target price 210 from 150. All right. Let's just check in with our upgrades here. If there's any upgrades today, Goose, Canada Goose. What else here? Nothing else there. Downgrades. I'm sure there's some to talk about here. Anything to note? Regeneron downgrade. There's really nothing in this list. This list sometimes is not the best. Okay, the juice. The juice. We have, let's see, unemployment rate comes out in 1 minute and 45 seconds. Fed Hammock speaks at 9. Let's see. I don't see any Trump stuff, but you never know. All right. Let's see here. We got about a minute and a half. All right. So we'll stick on the news, but we'll go back to daily charts. And we'll just look really quickly where we're at. You could see a big bearish engulfing candle here. You engulfed the prior day. Okay. So you close down here, 632. We're at 626 right now. Woof. 626, around 627. So around right here. Where is that at? Near last week's lows. Near last week's lows. Okay. Qs, because we'll get back into futures. Qs, another bearish engulfing candle. We're at 559.70. Right here. Right near last week's lows. Finally hit the 20-day simple moving average. You haven't hit that since June 23rd. Pretty nuts. Now, news is going to drop in 30 seconds. Real quick, we can look at futures. Let's see the devastation. Boom. There we are, right at last week's lows in futures. Okay, that's your ES. NASDAQ, right at last week's lows in futures. All right, there's a reason why you're stopping there for this big data. You can see the support here. Okay, big levels, big levels. Let's move on to back to the numbers coming out. Boom, 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 boom. Let's see these numbers. Let's see these numbers rolling. Oh boy, unemployment went up, and a big miss on non-farm payrolls. Okay. So we have non-farm payrolls expected 110, got 73. That's a miss. Unemployment expected 4.2, got 4.2, but we finally ticked up. Maybe this will make the Fed cut. Maybe this will make the Fed cut. Not adding enough jobs and unemployment rising. I would assume from this data that a cut might be coming. Let's see. Let's check out the Fed watch tool. Let's go to probabilities. No, not probabilities. Compare. There we go. Let's see. So this is for September. We don't have a Fed in August. So let's see. Current rate is this, right? So now look at that. Boop, 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 boop. Current 43% expect the cut in September. This is current. I don't know if this represents live, but it looks like we're looking at possibly getting a cut. Okay, but the probabilities have went down, but I'm not sure how current this is. Okay, but that's the Fed watch tool. After that news, now the market already sold off a ton. It's digesting this news. Okay, you can see the Nasdaq here really hasn't done much since I showed you guys we're at last week's lows. We just sold off so much. Like I said, I'm not sure because this could mean, all right, if unemployment is going to start to tick up, the Fed might have to take action. But it only upticked by 0.1. Okay. Now the bond market. Okay, that is a big change. So let's go to the triple-headed monster here. That actually changed. The 10-year yield was actually up prior when I just showed it to you. Now it's down. The yield means people are buying bonds like that. Okay, look at the wick. That just happened. Okay, that just happened. That wick just happened. All right, 10-year yield was actually up. Now it's negative. People are buying bonds, just like that. All right. Now moving on. Dollar. Dollar right now is getting some weakness. Now this is a good support level, right there. Have to see. Let's look at that VIX. Let's look at that VIX. That VIX. Okay. Look at that VIX. We were down to like a 14. We are up to an 18.74 right now. We hit the 200-day moving average. Okay. So now we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on to hourly charts. Actually, let's do a little market internals recap. I think it deserves it. Okay, I think it really deserves it. It really kept me on the right side yesterday. So give me a sec while I pull that up. Really important. Okay, this is something really important to really grasp. All right, to really grasp this market internals. My baby. This is my baby right here. Okay, let's look at yesterday. Now, when that market in the beginning of the day, right, and we moved up, we actually had a bearish candle. You can see it almost right in here, and then ripped up, right? And I was telling my community, or the couple people, the documents who was in my room with me, that this is not strong. Internals were calling the bluff of the market. That is not a strong reading. All right, and tech was relatively weak. Okay, and then we got the equal weight followed the market cap and it brought the markets down. You can see the SPX here bringing it down, and we hit the gamma flip point right there, that blue line, and we bounced. I expected, and I was saying in my community in Discord, I expect a relief bounce that I'm going to look to short. Said it right in my community right here. I'm going to pull it up so I can just show you guys. I didn't update a ton yesterday, but all I said was right here. Let's see here. Let's go down to it. Sorry. I thought I was down to it. Okay. This is what I said. This was at 1220. Okay. I said ticks are staying above zero, but not strong. Internals still below zero. With tech still weak, I am looking for a short here in the SPY/ES. I want to see ES reject 64.28. We just hit the close and VWAP. So you can see at this moment in time, I posted that pick. Okay, here's the bounce, right, in SPX. And I'm posting that I want to look for a short. Okay, you can see technology was the laggard. I entered my trade. You can see it right here. Probably a little before 108. I said short SPY 637.46. And the update I gave later, I said this is what I wanted to see. This is my order flow chart. This is my footprint chart. And it came down. And I said I want to see that test of 64.28. There's 64.28. I have the arrow. I entered short in SPY right when that tested the 64.28, which was the most traded price of the week. And it just, you see the price action even in the footprint chart. Boom, 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 boom. That's what I expected. Okay, I waited with the patience of a saint. My God, did I wait. And I don't even like trading past 12. But this, I was like, I know we're going to get a drop. I've seen this story before. And why? Why? Why do I say that? Because it's the internals. They don't lie, folks. When you have tech, end of the day down to 2%, that's what moves our markets. Okay? So it was a bloodbath. Okay? That's your market internals recap. Moving on. Let's go into the hourly charts here because there's some important levels we need to talk about. All right, let's go to those hourlies. Let's blow up our ES here. All right. And we're going to mark it up. We're going to mark it up. All right, so big sell-off. Hey, where the heck's my anchor VWAP? Hold on. I guess I got to reapply it, I guess. That's annoying. So these anchored VWAPs actually got broken. They're very important. This one held down there. So what I'm going to do, these anchor VWAPs, I'm going to get rid of. I already did this prior. I had to restart my system. Okay. So you can see how I do the anchor VWAP. I'm going to go from the all-time highs now. It's still in the overnight session. And now this becomes important, right? Because now it's the all-time high. And now I have an anchored VWAP there. So I know this represents sellers. That represents sellers. Okay? Let me extend this because this is not going to be, give me one sec. Let's just extend to the end of the year. Boop. Okay. Now that I have it on my charts, let's look at it. Now, what I want to show you here, this is not surprising. Let's just zoom out a little bit. Okay? What I want to show you is just how the markets work. Okay? Thin profile up here, right? Then, this is that, 64.28 was about right here. That's the one I wanted to see it test. That's where we fell. That's why that level was so important. Okay? That spelt doom for the markets. Okay? So, where did we just go? Well, we went to an anchored VWAP. And guess what else we went to? Demand zone and the most traded price of the last month. That's why those levels work, folks. Okay? I think that's around 63. 6303. I want to call it 6300, whatever. Okay? That's where we went to. We went where? Back to value. That was where value was for the month. We went right there. Okay? No surprise there. Now, do I think we take that level out today? I don't know. We fell a ton. We fell a ton. What I do think probably will happen is we might get a relief rally, maybe tap this supply, and maybe test this again. I don't know if we can really take that out today. Okay. Is it possible? I guess. If we come through here, retest, I don't know. There's a big level down here. Okay. Just have to see. Now, you're not going to be surprised when I show you the NASDAQ chart, where we went to, and why I put these levels on my charts. Okay, I'm going to have to do these anchored VWAPs just like this one. So this one's going to be quicker because that's how I track buyer strength here. Buyers, right? And we're gonna move this over to that all-time high right there, and we're going to give it my preset. I don't know if I just did that right. Let's do that again. Boom. Great. And now we're going to get rid of these anchor VWAPs. Look at that buying coming in. I'm going to tell you right now, that's probably because people think cuts are going to happen. Okay. Now, you can zoom in now. And there's your most traded price of the month in your NASDAQ. There's your 230s right here. Anchor VWAP demand zone. We just busted out of this supply zone. Like I said, I'm not saying we go to highs at all. I'm saying that I think that if this unemployment starts to tick up, the Fed might finally cut. That's pushing this little rally. We just sold off a ton. Okay. We might be changing over into the short the pops environment. Trust me, this is a relief rally. Okay. But who knows what'll happen today? I don't know. I never know. I don't claim to predict anything. Okay. All right. That's the 1 hour charts. Now let's move on. Let's move on, folks. We're going to move on to what's going on here. Let's go to my other workspace, which would be here. And we're going to analyze our market profile. Look at this. Look at this chart, boy. Wow, 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 wow. Okay. We know we had value up here, right? We're all the way back here. Back to the most traded price of the month. Now, when I say that, let me clarify that. It's the most traded price of the rolling month. It's a rolling month. It's not like the month, because obviously this month's just started. Okay? But it's the rolling month. We went back to last week's lows. Okay? We just erased all the gains from last week and this week. Okay? Gapping down. We're gapping down. Okay? So, first level when you're gapping down is going to be your 50% retracement of the overnight. That is your 633,950. That's your 50% retracement of the overnight session. Okay? That's how you gauge. If you stay under that, it's probably sell the pops. Okay? Now, our most traded price of the overnight is right here. You know, those are shorts. So, the farther we move away, the more pain shorts will feel. Okay? We know this demand zone held. Most traded price of the month held. It's a very key level. It's going to be tough to crack that after you sold off so much. We have single prints. So you can consider this almost two separate sessions. You got a session here and you got a session here. Okay? That's how we have to look at this. And they're both balanced, separated by single prints. Okay? You have your gap fill, 63.58.25, right there. Also got a supply zone here. Okay? Now, to note, we have started a new month-to-date VWAP. A new month-to-date VWAP, which is right here. Okay, it's brand new, fresh. Okay. Okay. Now, the next important thing, obviously, is the overnight highs. And that kind of lines up with the close of yesterday's lows, pretty much, almost. Okay, and the overnight highs. I don't really think we're going to be dealing with that today. Now, could be wrong. Could be dead wrong. Now we're going to open this up. Let's open up the session. Bars aligned. Here we are. All right, and let's get into scenarios. What's the level today? Let's see. Well, today is very important. All right, I'm going to start off, surprisingly, with a bull trade. Okay, and I'm going to gauge it based on the most traded price of the rolling month, 63.03. Okay, you can see we already are getting selling, right? This is not a surprise. What if we come back down here and we test this level and demand, maybe test the overnight lows, even break them. But what if we do this? Push up and hold this level. And the market is not that weak. Well, I'm going to want to come up here, target the 50% retracement, and see if you can gravy on top of that and you can fill the gap at 63.58. Now, internals, right, will have to show me that we're not that weak for me to be confident in that long. Okay? That is all I'm probably interested in as far as a long. Now, that's not true. This most traded price of the overnight, right here, this 63.14, write it down, 63.14. Okay? If the market, remember, this is last week's lows, right here, 63.18. If the market does this, let's say, rejects, but we're not that weak, right? And we come back, there's a good possibility we could hold that most traded price of the overnight and also go. That is my second one. The first one would be my preferred. I would rather have sellers strapped, rip up, sellers re-engage, think they're going lower, and that's where I'm going to get long on a retest. Now, internals have to support that. Now, moving on to shorts. What do I want to see for a short? Okay. I don't at all want to short here. Not with this big level. I'm asking for trouble. Okay. Now, what could happen? Well, we can get a little rise, like I said, right? Go right up to the midpoint. We could fail here, right? Or hit the supply, get rejected, right? Make some lower highs. That's where you can take out the longs from the lows here and really put them in question. But I would definitely take off my position, most of it here. I don't think that's in the cards today to just drop and drop and drop. However, if we did rip the 63.03 most traded price of the rolling month, right, and we retested that and the market is continually getting weak, you are going to rip lower. Now, if you're conservative, okay, if we just off the gap, we gap and go lower and rip down, break the overnight lows, and the market continually gets weak, retests this, that's also a viable play. That's all I'm interested in. Okay. Moving over to the NASDAQ. Okay, moving over to the NASDAQ. All right. Profile actually, believe it or not, is very balanced. Excess to the top, value area, excess to the downside. Now, I hope what I'm telling you makes sense. This is an even and equal distribution over the last rolling week. Okay, we hit we're at last week's lows right now. This tells me the auction is complete. Market auction theory. This tells me we have a completed distribution. Okay, probability in this profile would tell me we just saw the lows. Right? The market really has to go below that 230s and create more value and volume below that level for me to trust a short. Okay? For me to trust that short. Okay? So we'll look at these levels just the same. Let's analyze this chart. Now, what do you want to look at? Big gap down. You want to look at the 50% retracement of this, 2320.0850. Okay? You want gap fill. Gap fill is 2300.0575. Futures do not use closes for gaps. It's range gaps, highs and lows. Okay, this is not my rule. This is Jim Dalton, Peter Resnicek, Josh Schuler, Futures Trader 71. Guys have been doing market profile, volume profile way longer than me. None of them use closes for gap fills. It's highs and lows in futures, not a close. Okay, so that's our levels. Okay, we know we have a big demand level here in a 230. 230 is the bull's last defense. All right, you cannot lose that in the Nasdaq. Okay, that's your bull bear line. Write it down. 230.00 in the Nasdaq is your last defense for the bulls. They need to defend that level. Okay? They're at last week's lows right now. Okay? So, how are we going to play this, right? We got supply here. Right? Gap fill. The most traded price of the week is still up here at 235s. And that's what I said yesterday, too, to my in my community. I said, if you lose 235 in the Nasdaq, that is not good. And that when we lost it, woof, woof. Okay, but now 230 is the level to pay attention to. Let's go into scenarios, and they're going to be very similar. Hopefully, this is making sense to whoever is watching or listening. So let's break out this profile. Hold on. Not even sure if Documents is trading today. He's the NQ scalper. Let's do it. Okay. Now, most traded price either overnight. Write it down. 231. 231. Happens to be last week's lows. Okay. So, what am I looking for? For me to get long. Let's have people think we're just selling off. Let's go for a nice bear trap here. Break the overnight lows. Test 230s. And for me, my methodology for trading, that's my level to key off of. And how I make a decision, right? How do you make a decision off this level? Well, I'm going to watch. Okay, if it does this, all right. But if it does this, recovers it, retests, I'm going to get long. As long as internal support, along. Try to go up to the 50% retracement in this supply zone. Nice little bear trap. Okay, that's how I use levels like this. All right, they're roadblocks. Okay, and then I want to see structure form around those levels. For a short amount of time, I thought I was smarter than the markets, and I'd be like, that's my level, I'm long. And then it would play games, go back and forth, give me a heart attack, and I'm like, what am I doing? Let me get the, the downside to going back to this methodology that I was using is sometimes you do miss like a move. Like even yesterday's first drop off had buying, right? There wasn't really a setup there. It was just ripped up. That's the you always got to pick your poison. Pick your poison. For me, I need a more of like a retest setup to get into the trade. Sometimes you don't get the retest, and that's the downside. The upside is I do get to go with the big move. Okay, so that's that. Secondly, your 231 price is right here. Okay, I can also see a little push up. Retest the overnight VPOC 231 and last week's lows, and you can also join the party. That's it for longs. Shorts. All right. Now I'm going to again show you how I deal with the 230 level. Okay. Shorts. If we gap and go, and you touch this 230, same way I look at the level. If we do this, I don't do anything. If we find acceptance, and the market's kind of weak, but we get a momentary retest, that's where you can go lower. Okay, I want to see how this works, right? And you could even, because nothing's perfect, go like this and still fail retest. Okay, I want to see structure around that level that I can lean into. Okay, now we might open up and drive up into these single prints into this supply, give you some lower highs to sell a pop into. Then your target is 230. Right? Cherry on top would be a move lower. All right? That's what I'm looking at for today, folks. That's it for me. All right, it's August 1st. First day of August. August is generally seasonally bearish. Okay, seasonally bearish. And we'll have to see what happens in August. Now, hopefully you enjoyed that. You smashed the like button because I'm giving you golden nuggets. Okay, golden nuggets. Now, we have a plan. I love that I have a big level to find structure off of, right? Off of, all right? So, now, hopefully, let me get this spiel out of the way here. Hopefully you join me every day, all right? Give you the market news. Give you all the information you need to have to prepare you for what's going on in the markets. Now, if you don't know how to trade, who cares? You can still get all the information from me in the first 15 minutes of what's going on with markets. Okay? Then you get TA. Right? Then you get TA. And then you get the long and short shade scenarios that I just gave you. Okay? So sign up. All right? Now, of course, you want to get a little deeper, a little more in the nitty gritty. Join my Discord, Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link, sign up. Get on the train of the weekly expected move. It's free. It's free. It's amazing. Okay, I'm going to start probably doing some options plays on these levels. All right? Probably some options strategy, some strangles. All right? Some in the money credit spreads. Or in the money put spreads. Okay? For credit. Now, those are advanced stuff. I understand that. Not everybody understands those things. But that's how you take advantage of those expected moves. Okay? So I will update the expected move in my Discord moving forward. So you'll only be able to get that in my Discord. So join the Discord. All right, now everybody, have a great weekend. This week has been crazy. Okay, so if I don't see you in my room in my Discord, which I hope I do, I will see everybody next week. Everybody have a great weekend.